The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the marketplace of New Haven Colony. Giant wiped sweat from his forehead as he secured the last cargo container on his hauler. Another day, another delivery run completed. His back ached from lifting boxes all morning, but it was honest work. The kind of work his father had taught him to take pride in. He was heading back to his truck when he noticed the old alien struggling. The creature was Voxian, one of the reptilian species that occasionally passed through the outer colonies. This one looked ancient. His scales had dulled to a grayish green, and he moved with a pronounced limp that made each step seem painful. The alien clutched several grocery bags in his clawed hands. As Giant watched, one of the bags tore completely. Cans and containers spilled across the pavement, rolling in different directions. The old Voxian made a sound that might have been a sigh or a groan. He bent down slowly, clearly struggling with the movement. Giant did not think about it. He just moved forward. "Here, let me help you with that," he said, kneeling to gather the scattered items. The Voxian's amber eyes fixed on him with an intensity that seemed strange for such a frail creature. Those eyes held something Giant could not quite name. Surprise, maybe, or suspicion. "You will help me?" the alien asked. His voice was rough, like gravel scraping against stone. "Of course," Giant replied with an easy smile. He picked up the cans and placed them carefully in one of his own spare bags. "These plastic bags are terrible quality. I have a stronger one you can use. Hold on." He jogged back to his truck and grabbed one of the reinforced bags he kept for his deliveries. When he returned, the Voxian was still standing there, watching him with that same piercing gaze. "I am called Torvak," the alien said slowly, as if the name itself carried some great weight. "Nice to meet you, Torvak. I'm Giant." He gathered up the remaining bags, surprised by how heavy they were. "Where you headed?" "The housing complex on the east side. Building 7. Torvak gestured down the street with a scaled hand that trembled slightly. Giant glanced at the distance. It had to be at least a kilometer, maybe more. That's a long walk carrying all this. "Come on, my truck is right here. I will give you a ride." For a moment, Torvak simply stared at him. Then he nodded once. They drove in comfortable silence through the colony streets. Giant noticed that Torvak watched everything with careful attention. The mixed crowds of humans and aliens shopping together. The simple but sturdy buildings. The children playing in a park while their parents watched from benches. The peaceful, ordinary bustle of daily life. "Your colony is very different from most worlds," Torvak said finally. "How so?" "Peaceful. Quiet. No soldiers on every corner. No walls separating species." Giant shrugged. "We are pretty new to the whole galactic community thing. Maybe we have not learned to be paranoid yet." Something flickered in Torvak's expression, but he said nothing more. The apartment building was old but well-maintained. Giant helped carry the bags up 3 flights of stairs, noting how Torvak struggled with each step despite trying to hide it. His apartment was small and sparse. But Giant's eye caught certain details that seemed out of place. A faded military insignia mounted on one wall, the kind that marked high rank. Furniture that was simple but made with exceptional craftsmanship. A star chart so old that many of the marked territories no longer existed under those names. "Would you share tea?" Torvak asked. "I have little to offer for your kindness, but—" "Tea sounds great," Giant interrupted gently. "But you do not owe me anything. Anyone would have helped." Torvak's expression suggested he strongly disagreed with that statement, but he said nothing. He moved to prepare the tea while Giant set the groceries on a small table. They sat across from each other in worn chairs. The tea was bitter and strong, nothing like the blends humans usually drank. But Giant sipped it politely. "Tell me about your people," Torvak said. "Humans? You are new to space travel, yes?" "Pretty new. Maybe 80 years since we made first contact with other species." Giant wrapped his hands around the warm cup. "We are still figuring everything out. Mostly we keep to ourselves, do some trading, try not to cause problems. And you help strangers with their groceries." "Well, yeah." Giant laughed. "Is that strange?" "For most species in the galaxy, yes. Very strange. Torvak's eyes held something deep and unreadable. Sadness, perhaps. Or maybe regret. What do you gain from such actions? Jayan thought about the question. It seemed oddly serious for such a simple thing. My dad used to say that everyone is just trying to get through the day. If you could make someone's day a little bit easier, why would you not do it? Your father sounds like a wise man. He was. Jayan looked down at his tea. The memory still hurt. He passed away last year. I am sorry for your loss. They talked for nearly an hour. Torvak asked thoughtful questions about human philosophy, culture, and values. He seemed particularly interested in ideas about family, community, and why people helped each other without expecting payment. When Jayan finally stood to leave, he made a decision without really thinking about it. Hey, I do delivery runs every Tuesday and Thursday. I could swing by and help with groceries if you need it. Really, it is no trouble at all. Torvak was quiet for a long moment. Those ancient eyes studied Jayan's face as if searching for something hidden. You would do this? Come back to help an old alien you just met. Sure. Like I said, it is no trouble. After Jayan left, Torvak sat alone in his apartment as darkness fell. He did not turn on the lights. Instead, he reached into a drawer and pulled out an old holographic projector. His hands shook slightly as he activated it. The image flickered to life in the dim room. A younger Torvak stood in the hologram, wearing ceremonial armor of gold and crimson that gleamed like fire. He was addressing a crowd so vast it stretched beyond the edges of projection. Billions of voices raised in perfect unison. Warriors of 100 different species kneeling in salute. Half a galaxy bowing before him as one. Emperor Torvak the Unifier, conqueror of 10,000 worlds, ruler of half the known galaxy. He deactivated the image and stared at his old, scaled hands. These hands had once held absolute power over trillions of lives. Anyone would have helped, he whispered, repeating Jayan's words. But Torvak knew the truth. In all his long centuries of life, across thousands of worlds and countless civilizations, he had never encountered anyone quite like these humans. He had studied every species in his empire. He had learned their weaknesses and exploited them. He had understood what motivated each race. But these humans confused him. They helped without calculating advantage. They showed kindness to strangers without expecting anything in return. They were weak in every military sense, yet they seemed unafraid. For the first time in 15 years of hiding, living as a simple old alien in a forgotten colony, Torvak wondered if he made the right choice in walking away from his throne. And somewhere deep in his ancient warrior's heart, a small spark of hope flickered to life. Perhaps there was another way after all. Over the next month, Jayan kept his promise. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he helped Torvak with groceries, and they shared tea afterward. It became a comfortable routine. Jayan would finish his morning deliveries, swing by the market to help Torvak shop, then carry everything up to the small apartment. They would sit at the worn table and talk while drinking the bitter Voxian tea that Jayan was slowly getting used to. Torvak told stories during these visits, carefully edited tales of battles and empires, always framed as things he had witnessed rather than participated in. I once knew someone who commanded a fleet of 10,000 ships, he would say. Or, in my youth, I witnessed a peace treaty that saved billions of lives. Jayan listened with fascination. The old alien had clearly lived an extraordinary life, even if he seemed reluctant to talk about his own role in events. Meanwhile, the galactic news grew darker with each passing day. The Voxian Dominion, which Jayan learned had once controlled half the known galaxy, was tearing itself apart. Different factions fought for control. Warlords declared themselves the true successors to the old empire. Entire star systems burned as rival groups clashed. It is terrible, Jayan said one afternoon, watching a news report on Torvak's old display screen. Footage showed cities in flames, refugees fleeing in massive ships, orbital battles that lit up entire planets. All that death and destruction. For what? Just so someone could be in charge. That is the Voxian way, Torvak said quietly. His voice carried a strange tone, something between sadness and resignation. Strength through conquest. Weakness through mercy. That is what we are taught from birth. That seems backwards to me. Does it? Torvak's amber eyes fixed on him. Your people are pacifists in a very dangerous galaxy. Does that make you strong or weak? We are not pacifists, Giant said firmly. We defend ourselves when we have to. We just do not think that being able to hurt people makes you better than them. There is a difference between being strong and being cruel. Torvak was silent for a long moment. Something shifted in his ancient face, an expression Giant could not quite read. Yes, he finally said. Yes, there's a difference. But most species do not see it. The following week brought an unexpected visitor. Giant had stopped by early, bringing fresh fruit from the market. He was helping Torvak put things away when someone knocked on the door with sharp, commanding strikes. Torvak's entire body went rigid. For just a moment, Giant saw something in his posture that had never been there before. Authority, power. Then it vanished, and he was just an old alien again. Come in, Torvak called. The door opened to reveal a Voxian in full military armor. She was tall and imposing, with darker scales and Torvacan eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Her armor bore markings that even Giant recognized as high rank. She stepped inside, saw Torvak, and immediately dropped to one knee. My Emperor, she said. Giant's teacup froze halfway to his lips. The cup slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. Commander Serix, Torvak said with a heavy sigh. I told you not to come here. The Dominion is burning, my lord. We need you. Serix's voice was urgent, almost desperate. The factions are at each other's throats. Millions die every day. Only you have the authority to unite them. Only you can stop this. Emperor? Giant's voice came out as barely a whisper. What is she talking about? Torvak closed his eyes. Giant, I have not been entirely honest with you. Serix finally seemed to notice the human. Her lip curled slightly. You allow a primitive to be present for military discussions? Giant is my friend, Torvak said sharply. You will show respect. The way he said it, the command in his voice, made Serix immediately bow her head. My apologies, my lord. Torvak turned to Giant. His ancient eyes were filled with something that looked like guilt. I am not just an old Voxian who needed help with groceries. I was once Emperor Torvak the Unifier. I conquered and ruled half the known galaxy for 60 years. Giant sat down heavily. His mind raced, connecting pieces. The military insignia on the wall. The old star charts. The way Torvak spoke about galactic politics with such intimate knowledge. The furniture that was clearly made for royalty, even if it was old. You conquered half the galaxy, Giant said slowly. Yes. And then you just left? To live in a tiny apartment on New Haven? Yes. Why? Before Torvak could answer, Serix spoke up. It does not matter why. What matters is that the Dominion needs its rightful emperor. My lord, I have tracked you across a dozen worlds. I have spent 2 years searching. Please, come back. Save your people. They are no longer my people. Torvak said. I abdicated. I walked away. I am finished with conquest and war. Then billions will die. Serix's voice rose with passion. The factions will never stop fighting on their own. They need strong leadership. They need you. I gave them 60 years of strong leadership. I gave them 10,000 conquered worlds. I gave them an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. Torvak's voice was heavy with old pain. And in the end, what did it bring them? More war. More death. More enemies. The Dominion is collapsing because I built on violence, and violence is all they know. Serix looked stricken. My lord, please. Leave, Commander. I will not return. Serix stood slowly. She looked at Torvak with something like heartbreak in her eyes. Then she glanced at Giant with open contempt. This is your influence, this human weakness. You have corrupted him. Get out, Torvak said coldly. After Serix left, silence filled the small apartment. Giant stared at the old alien, who he had been helping with groceries for a month. Emperor Torvak the Unifier, one of the most powerful beings in galactic history. I should go, Giant said quietly. Please do not. Torvak's voice was almost pleading. I know this is a shock. I know I should have told you. But I enjoyed being just Torvak, just an old alien who drinks tea with a kind human. I did not want that to change. Jayan picked up the broken pieces of his teacup, thinking. Finally, he looked up. Are you still just the old guy who needs help with groceries? Yes. Then that is who you are to me. Jayan stood and got the broom to sweep up the remaining pieces. Emperor, grocery shopper, whatever. You are still my friend, though I have about 1,000,000 questions. The relief on Torvak's face was obvious. Ask anything. Why did you really leave? Torvak poured them both fresh tea. His hands trembled slightly. Because I was tired, Jayan. Tired of seeing worlds burn. Tired of ordering deaths. Tired of watching my own people become monsters in the name of empire. I want to know what it felt like to be ordinary, to be at peace. And then a human helped me carry groceries and expected nothing in return. No reward, no favor, no advantage. Just kindness. Torvak met his eyes. Do you understand how rare that is? In all my centuries, across thousands of civilizations, I had never encountered pure kindness. It made me realize that perhaps I had been wrong about everything. Jayan did not know what to say to that. Jayan woke in a hospital 3 days later. His leg was wrapped in regenerated bandages that glowed faintly blue. The pain was still there, but distant, like it belonged to someone else. Torvak sat beside his bed in a chair that looked too small for him, looking older and more tired than ever. You should have left me, Torvak said quietly. His voice was rough, as if he had not slept in days. Shut up. Jayan managed to croak out. His throat felt like sandpaper. How many died? 17 dead, 23 injured. Torvak's hands trembled in his lap. This is my fault. They came looking for me. Voxian extremists. Tried to eliminate anyone who might challenge their faction leader. They knew I was here. You did not plant the bomb. I might as well have. I brought death to your peaceful colony just by existing here. Torvak looked down at his scaled hands. Everyone around me dies eventually. I should have remembered that. Stop it. Jayan tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his leg. You did not ask him to do this. Before Torvak could respond, the hospital room door opened. Commander Sarek stood there in full armor, her expression grim. My emperor, we need to talk. I told you my answer. That was before the attack. Before innocents died because of your presence here. Sarek stepped inside and closed the door. The Dominion Council has located you. They know exactly where you are. They will send extraction teams whether you agree or not. They need your legitimacy to unite the factions. Torvak was silent for a long moment. Jayan watched emotions play across the old alien's face. Guilt, anger, resignation. If I refuse? Torvak finally asked. They will take you by force. And this colony will become a battlefield. Sarek's voice was flat, stating facts without emotion. You know how the Dominion operates. They will not care about human casualties. Jayan felt cold despite the warm hospital room. They would attack the whole colony? To secure the Emperor? Yes, without hesitation. Sarek looked at him directly for the first time. Your people will be considered acceptable losses. Then I will go, Torvak said heavily. But I have one condition. Name it, my lord. Jayan comes with me, as my personal advisor. What? Jayan stared at him. I am a cargo hauler. I drive a truck and move boxes. What do I know about galactic politics? You know right from wrong. You know kindness. You know how to see people as people, not as assets or threats. Torvak turned to him with desperate eyes. I cannot face them alone. I need someone to remind me why I walked away in the first place. Someone who will tell me the truth when everyone else is lying. Sarek looked disgusted. A human advisor? The council will never accept this. It is an insult to... Then there is no deal. Torvak's voice suddenly carried steel, the voice of someone who once commanded billions. Those are my terms, Commander. Take them or leave them. Syrinx's jaw worked silently. Finally, she bowed her head. I will inform the council, but they will not be pleased. After she left, Jayan looked at Torvak. You are serious about this? Completely serious. I do not want to leave New Haven. I do not want to be in the middle of your galactic war. I know, and I am sorry to ask. But please, Jayan, I am terrified of becoming what I was before. I need an anchor. I need a friend who will see me as just Torvak, not as Emperor. The old alien's voice cracked slightly. You saved my life. Let me try to save yours in return by keeping you close where I can protect you. Jayan closed his eyes. His leg throbbed. 17 people were dead. His quiet life was already destroyed. And despite everything, Torvak was his friend. Okay, he said. Okay, I will come. 2 days later, they boarded a massive Voxian warship. Jayan had never seen anything like it. The ship was easily 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, painted in the crimson and gold of the Dominion. Thousands of warriors lined the corridors, all of them stopping to salute as Torvak passed. The journey to VXor Prime took a week. Jayan spent most of it recovering and trying to understand what he had gotten himself into. Syrinx provided him with briefings about Voxian culture, politics, and the current crisis. It was overwhelming. The council expects you to lead them to victory, Syrinx explained one day. They were in a small briefing room, looking at star maps. They think you have returned to crush the rebel factions and restore the old empire. That is not what he wants, Jayan said. I know. That is why this will be very difficult. Syrinx studied him for a moment. Why did you agree to come? Truly, Jayan thought about it. Because he is my friend. And friends do not let friends face monsters alone. The council are not monsters. They are patriots trying to save their civilization. Anyone willing to kill 17 innocent people to get what they want sounds like a monster to me. Syrinx had no answer to that. When they finally arrived at VAXor Prime, Jayan could barely comprehend what he saw. The entire planet was one massive city. Every surface covered in towers of metal and stone that reached toward the sky. Military monuments on every corner. Statues of warriors hundreds of meters tall. Eternal flames burning in memory of the fallen. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Torvak's former palace was a city within the city. The complex covered dozens of square kilometers. Millions of people worked there, all part of the vast machinery of empire. The Dominion Council waited in a war room deep inside the palace. 7 Voxian military leaders, each one radiating authority and power. They commanded billions of troops across thousands of worlds. When Torvak entered, they all dropped to one knee in perfect unison. Rise, Torvak said. His voice was different here, stronger, more commanding. I have returned, but not as you expect. The council members stood. One of them, an old warrior with scars across his face, spoke first. My emperor, the northern factions are mobilizing. They have assembled a fleet of 40,000 ships. We need you to lead us to victory, as you did in the old days. No. The single word fell like a hammer. Silence filled the enormous room. I will return as emperor, Torvak continued slowly. But I will not lead you to war. I will pursue peace, reconciliation, an end to the cycle of violence that is destroying us. That is weakness. Another council member roared. He was younger, with darker scales and eyes that burned with fanatical intensity. The factions will see it as surrender. They will attack us with everything they have. Then perhaps we should surrender the idea that conquest is the only measure of strength. The council erupted in angry voices, all 7 of them shouting at once, arguing, protesting, demanding. Jayan found himself standing up. His legs still ached, but he ignored it. Excuse me, he said loudly. The shouting stopped. 7 pairs of alien eyes turned to stare at him. The contempt in their gazes was obvious. You're all acting like peace means defeat, Jayan said. His voice shook slightly, but he pushed forward. But what has centuries of war gotten you? Your empire is breaking apart. Your people are dying. Your enemies multiply every day. Maybe trying something different is not weakness. Maybe it is the only smart choice you have left. Torvak began sending diplomatic messages to rival factions the very next day. Offers of negotiation instead of battle. Promises of shared governance rather than subjugation. Invitations to peace talks on neutral ground. The responses were mixed and came slowly. Some factions seemed intrigued by the possibility of ending the bloodshed. Many were deeply suspicious, convinced it was a trap. Others responded with open hostility, calling Torvak a coward and a traitor to Voxian values. The council grew more agitated with each passing day. "You make us look weak," one member hissed during a private meeting. His name was Draxus, and he was the youngest of the 7. "Our enemies laugh at us. They share recordings of your peace messages as entertainment. They mock the great Torvak the Unifier, saying he has gone soft." "Let them laugh," Torvak said calmly. "Better they laugh than die. Warriors do not fear death. This is not our way. Perhaps it should be." Jayan watched these meetings from a seat in the corner, feeling more out of place each time. He was supposed to be an advisor, but he had no idea how to advise anyone about galactic warfare and politics. Mostly, he just listened and tried to understand the complex web of alliances and grudges that held the Dominion together. But he noticed things, small things. The way certain council members looked at each other when Torvak was not watching. Whispered conversations that stopped abruptly when Jayan approached. Messages sent on private channels during meetings. Something was being planned. He could feel it. He tried to warn Torvak one evening. They were in the Emperor's private chambers, a massive suite that Torvak clearly felt uncomfortable in. The old alien sat in a simple chair, ignoring the elaborate throne that dominated the room. "I think the council is plotting something," Jayan said carefully. "I know." "You know? And you are not worried?" "Of course I am worried. But what can I do? Arrest them for thoughts? Execute them for disagreeing with me?" Torvak shook his head. "That is exactly the kind of emperor I am trying not to be anymore. But if they try something, then I will deal with it when it happens. For now, I must focus on the peace negotiations. 3 factions have agreed to talks. It is a start." Jayan wanted to argue, but he could see the determination in Torvak's eyes. The old alien had made his choice. The assassination attempt came during a public ceremony 2 weeks later. Torvak was dedicating a new memorial to fallen warriors. Thousands of Voxians attended, filling the massive plaza. Jayan stood nearby, still walking with a slight limp for his injured leg. He saw it happen almost in slow motion. One of the council members, Draxus, moved through the crowd. His hand went to his side, drawing a plasma blade that glowed with deadly heat. He lunged forward, aiming for Torvak's back while the Emperor spoke to the crowd. Jayan did not think. He threw himself forward, crashing into Torvak and knocking him aside. The plasma blade sliced through empty air where Torvak's neck had been a heartbeat before. Guards swarmed Draxus instantly. He fought like a cornered animal, but there were too many. They brought him down and locked him in chains. The crowd erupted in chaos. People screaming, running, trying to get away. Jayan helped Torvak to his feet, checking to make sure the old alien was unhurt. "You saved me again," Torvak said quietly. "Seems to be becoming a habit." Later, in a secure chamber deep beneath the palace, Draxus knelt in chains. By Voxian law, attempting to kill the Emperor was punishable by immediate execution. Torvak could order his death with a single word, and no one would question it. The other council members were present, watching carefully to see what their Emperor would do. "Why?" Torvak asked simply. He stood before Draxus without guards, unafraid. Draxus looked up with defiant eyes. "You call it peace. I call it dishonoring every warrior who died believing in our strength. My entire clutch, my brothers, my sisters, they all fell in the Unity Wars 30 years ago. They died believing they were building something great. If we stop fighting now, if we make peace with our enemies, what did they die for? What was the point of their sacrifice?" His voice cracked on the last word. Beneath the anger, Jayan could hear the pain of old grief that had never healed. Torvak was quiet for a long moment. The chamber was absolutely silent. Everyone waited to see if he would order the execution. Instead, Torvak did something that shocked every person present. He removed Draxus's chains himself. They died believing they were building something greater than themselves. Torvak said softly, "Perhaps they were right. Perhaps we should finally build something actually worth dying for. Not an empire built on conquest, but a civilization that creates instead of destroys. One that your brothers and sisters will be proud of." Draxus stared at him. Confusion and pain warred on his face. "My emperor, I do not understand you. I tried to kill you. I know, and by our laws, I should execute you for it. But I am trying to show a different way. A way where we break cycles instead of continuing them." Torvak held out his hand. "Help me build something better. Help me honor the fallen by making sure no more join them unnecessarily." For a long moment, Draxus did not move. Then, slowly, he took Torvak's hand and stood. Tears ran down his scaled face. "I do not know if I can," he whispered. "None of us do, but we have to try." The other council members looked stunned. Jayan saw something shift in their expressions. Not full acceptance, but perhaps the first crack in their resistance. 3 days later, Torvak called for a galaxy-wide broadcast. Billions would watch across thousands of worlds. It would be his first public address since returning. Jayan helped him prepare, though there was not much to do. Torvak refused to wear ceremonial armor or the imperial crown. He stood before the cameras in simple robes, looking more like a teacher than an emperor. "I am Torvak," he began when the broadcast went live. "You knew me as the unifier, the conqueror. For 60 years, I led you to victory after victory. I built an empire that controlled half the known galaxy. I conquered 10,000 worlds. I commanded the largest military force in history." He paused. His next words would change everything. "And I was wrong." Shocked silence rippled across billions of viewers. Jayan could almost feel it through the broadcast equipment. "Strength is not measured in conquered worlds," Torvak continued. "It is measured in what we build, what we protect, what we leave behind for those who come after us. I learned this from a human who helped me carry groceries and expected nothing in return, who saved my life twice and asked for no reward, who showed me that true power lies not in domination, but in compassion." The camera briefly showed Jayan, who tried very hard not to look as uncomfortable as he felt. "The Dominion stands at a crossroads," Torvak said. "We can continue down the path of endless war, fighting until nothing remains of us but graves and monuments. Or we can become something new, something greater. I cannot promise this path will be easy. Change never is. But I promise it will be worth walking." 6 months passed like water flowing down a long river. The change was not swift or dramatic. There were setbacks and failures. Some factions refused all peace offers and continued fighting. Some Dominion worlds resisted the new philosophy, clinging to old warrior traditions. But slowly, gradually, things began to shift. More factions agreed to negotiations. Peace treaties were signed. Resources once spent on weapons were redirected to rebuilding damaged worlds. The Dominion began to look different, feel different. But Jayan felt increasingly out of place with each passing week. He sat in council meetings where people discussed trade agreements and territorial disputes in languages he barely understood. He advised on matters he felt completely unqualified to judge. He lived in a massive palace when all he wanted was a small apartment back in New Haven. He missed his cargo truck. He missed his simple delivery routes. He missed his quiet, ordinary life. "I should go home," he told Torvak one evening. They were in the palace gardens, one of the few places that felt peaceful. Torvak was feeding small fish in a pond, something he did when he needed to think. "You wish to leave?" Torvak asked without looking up. "I am a cargo hauler, Torvak, not a diplomat or advisor or whatever this is supposed to be. I do not belong here. You are the reason any of this is working. I am really not. You are doing all of this. You are the one making peace happen." "No." Torvak finally looked at him. "You show them something every single day. Something they have never seen before. Kindness without calculation. Help without expectation of reward. When you speak in council meetings, you do not think like they do. You think like a person who carries groceries for strangers. And that is exactly what they need to see. That is not a qualification for galactic politics. It is the only qualification that truly matters. Torvak smiled sadly. But I understand. You have given much already. More than anyone could reasonably ask. You have saved my life twice. You have stood beside me when everyone else thought I was mad. You have been a true friend. What will you do without me? Continue, or try to. Torvak looked back at the fish. Perhaps I can manage without assistance carrying groceries now. They both laughed, but it was tinged with sadness. Jayan's departure was scheduled for the following week. In those final days, Torvak offered him everything. Wealth beyond imagination. A position of high rank in the Dominion government. Land on any world he chose. A palace of his own. Anything he wanted. Jayan refused it all. I just helped someone with their groceries, he said simply. That is all. You do not owe me anything for that. That statement spread through the Dominion faster than any battle cry ever had. The human who wanted nothing. Who helped because it was right, not because it was profitable. Who saved the Emperor's life and asked for no reward. It was a final lesson Torvak's people needed to learn. The day before Jayan was scheduled to leave, something happened that would be remembered for generations. A young Voxian soldier approached him in the palace gardens. She was nervous, her scales shifting colors slightly with emotion. "May I speak with you?" she asked quietly. "Of course. I wanted to say thank you. My father was Draxus, the one who tried to kill the Emperor." She looked down at her clawed hands. "He told me what happened after, how he was shown mercy instead of execution. How the Emperor talked to him about honoring the dead by protecting the living. It changed him completely." "That is good," Jayan said, unsure what else to say. He is helping negotiate peace treaties now. He works 12 hours a day, trying to end wars instead of start them. He says the Emperor learned compassion from you. That kindness is not weakness, but the hardest kind of strength. She looked up at Jayan with earnest eyes. "You saved more than just the Emperor's life. You saved my father's soul." Jayan did not know how to respond to that. His throat felt tight. "I am just a cargo hauler," he finally managed. "Maybe that is exactly what the galaxy needed," she said softly. "Someone ordinary who does extraordinary things without even realizing it." She saluted him in the formal Voxian manner, then left. Jayan stood alone in the garden, wondering if anything he had done really mattered as much as people seemed to think. The next day, thousands of people came to see him off at the spaceport. Torvak was there, of course, along with the entire council, and what seemed like half the palace staff. News crews broadcast a departure across the Dominion. Torvak embraced him in the Voxian way, pressing their foreheads together. "Thank you, my friend, for everything. Take care of yourself. And try not to get assassinated again. I will do my best." Jayan boarded the transport that would take him back to New Haven. As the ship lifted off, he looked down at Vixar Prime, growing smaller below him. Part of him would miss it, but most of him was simply ready to go home. The journey back took 2 weeks. When Jayan finally stepped off the transport onto New Haven soil, he breathed deeply. The air smelled like home. His cargo hauler truck was exactly where he had left it, covered in dust but still functional. His small apartment was the same. His delivery routes were waiting. Within a week, he was back to his old life. Wake up early, load the truck, make deliveries, come home tired. It was simple and ordinary and absolutely perfect. 5 years passed. The Dominion continued to change, slowly but genuinely. Peace treaties held more often than they broke. Reconstruction projects flourished across formerly war-torn worlds. Voxian culture began adapting to ideas of cooperation instead of pure conquest. It was not perfect, and there were still conflicts, but the direction was clear, and humans had become something unexpected across the galaxy. They were sought after as diplomats and mediators. Their reputation for rational compassion became an asset instead of a weakness. Other species began to study human philosophy and culture, trying to understand what made them different. Giant still did his cargo routes through New Haven. He liked the simplicity of it. He liked helping people. He occasionally received messages from Torvak, who was still Emperor and still working on his great project of transformation. One afternoon, Giant was loading containers onto his truck when he saw an elderly alien struggling with grocery bags. This one was different from Torvak, insectoid with multiple arms that still somehow could not manage all the bags. One bag tore, and strange fruits rolled across the pavement. Giant did not think about it. He just moved. "Here, let me help you with that," he said, kneeling to gather the scattered items. The alien made a clicking sound of surprise. "You would help me?" "Of course." He gathered the bags and offered to drive the alien home. They talked during the drive, casual conversation about nothing important. The alien thanked him profusely and invited him for tea sometime. Giant agreed and drove away, thinking nothing more of it. He did not know that the alien was Dr. Hive Queen Senna, one of the galaxy's most prominent genetic scientists. He did not know that she had been developing biological weapons for the highest bidder. He did not know that his simple act of kindness would make her stop and reconsider her life choices. The end